This happened to a friend of mine. She told me about it about a year ago. We'll call her Emily. Emily is in her early 20s and works as a private tutor in Malaysia. A few years ago, she was tutoring a teenage boy at her house. They had a big exam coming up, so they were studying pretty late into the night. Eventually, the buses stopped running, and since he lived pretty far away, the boy asked if he could just stay the night and leave early in the morning. Emily hesitated. Letting a teenage male student stay over didn't feel like the best idea. But he kept insisting. He said it was too late and there was no way to get home, and he didn't want to get in trouble with his parents. After a few minutes of back and forth, she finally agreed. They went back to her small studio apartment. She took the bed and he laid out a blanket on the floor beside it. Before long, both of them fell asleep. A few hours later, around 2 in the morning, Emily felt someone shaking her awake. She opened her eyes, confused. It was the boy. "I'm really hungry," he said quietly. "Can we go get something to eat?" Emily blinked at him, half asleep. "Right now? It's 2 a.m. Just go back to sleep." But he didn't move. "I can't sleep," he said. "Let's just go out. There's a 24-hour place down the street." She sighed and rubbed her eyes. She told him there were instant noodles in the kitchen, and he could make something for himself if he wanted. But that didn't satisfy him. He kept insisting. "No, I don't want that. Let's just go out for a bit." At this point, Emily was getting pretty annoyed, but he wouldn't stop. After a few more minutes of him pushing, she finally gave in. "Fine, give me a minute." They grabbed their things and stepped outside into the quiet street. The moment the apartment door closed behind them, the boy turned to her. His voice dropped. "I'm not actually hungry," he said. Emily frowned. "What?" He glanced back towards the apartment, then leaned closer. "I woke up earlier," he whispered, "and I saw something." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" The boy swallowed. "I was lying on the floor and I looked under your bed." He paused. There's a man under there." Emily just stared at him, not processing it at first. "What?" "He's been there," the boy continued, his voice shaking now. I saw him. He was just lying there, staring at me." They didn't go back inside. They called the police from outside the building. When the officers arrived and searched the apartment, they found a homeless man hiding under her bed. He had been living there for nearly 2 months. He would come out at night when she was asleep, eat her food, use her bathroom, and then go back under the bed before morning. The only reason the boy noticed him was because he was on the floor. From that angle, he had a clear view underneath the bed. A few years ago, I was driving alone through a remote stretch of highway in Nevada, heading from a small town outside of Reno towards Utah. It was supposed to be a shortcut. Just miles and miles of empty road cutting through the desert and low mountains. No gas stations, no houses, nothing but dry land and silence. Late afternoon, when the sun started to dip, at some point the road began winding through a narrow pass with tall bush and rocky hills on both sides. Visibility wasn't great, but you could still see far enough ahead. That's when I noticed something in the distance. At first, it just looked like debris on the road. As I got closer and slowed down, then I saw it clearly. A dark-colored sedan was stopped sideways across both lanes, blocking the road completely. One of the doors was open. There were clothes scattered everywhere, like a suitcase just had dumped out in a hurry. And then, two bodies, a man and a woman, both lying face down on the asphalt. I slowed to a stop, maybe 100 feet away. Something about it felt wrong. Too still, too quiet. It didn't look like an accident. It looked staged. Every instinct I had was telling me not to get out of the car. Still, I just sat there for a second, staring, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Then it hit me. This was a setup. I was already in the worst possible position. I quickly scanned the area. Tall brush on both sides of the road, thick enough for someone to hide in. I didn't see anyone, but that didn't mean they weren't there. My heart started pounding. I made a quick decision. There was just enough space on the left side of the road to squeeze past the man lying there, and then cut right around the woman behind the car. It would be tight, but it was possible. I didn't hesitate. I dropped the car into gear and slammed the gas. As I sped forward, I kept my eyes locked on the path. I passed the first body, just barely missing it, and then swerved around the second and cleared the back of the car. The second I was past them, I kept driving. Didn't stop, didn't even look back, at least not right away. After a few hundred feet, I slowed down just enough to glance in the rearview mirror, and what I saw made my stomach drop. The two bodies were moving. They pushed themselves up onto their knees, and then people started emerging from the brush, one after another, at least a dozen of them. They came out from both sides of the brush. They came out from both sides of the road, heading towards the car, where I had just been. That's when I realized I had almost stopped right in the middle of it. I floored the gas again. Didn't slow down until I hit the main highway miles later. I still don't know what would have happened if I had stepped out of the car. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here telling this story. A while back, a family moved in next door to us. They had a son who was kinda off. His name was Ethan. He was around 18 or 19. And from the moment we met him, something didn't feel right. He was obsessed with horror movies, especially the really violent ones. He'd constantly try to bring up disturbing topics in the conversation. Things most people don't even think about, let alone say out loud. He also had this habit of messing with stray animals around the neighborhood, which didn't sit right with anyone. At the time, my daughter was only 6, and for some reason, Ethan took a weird interest in her. He'd try to talk to her whenever she was outside. If she was playing in the yard, he'd be at the fence starting the conversations. If she was walking home from school, he'd find a way to cross paths with her. At first, I brushed it off as awkward behavior. But then he started calling the house, asking to speak to her. And that was it for me. I went straight over to his parents and made it very clear. He was to stay away from my daughter. No more talking, no more calling, nothing. They apologized and said they'd handle it. For a while, things went quiet, but then my daughter started acting differently. She was always a little imaginative, afraid of the dark, thinking there were monsters under her bed, that kind of thing. So when she told us that there was something in her closet at night, we didn't think much of it. She said it only came out when the lights were off, and that it wasn't there during the day. We reassured her, checked the closet a few times, and tried to calm her down. Nothing was ever there, so we figured it was just a phase. A few weeks later, my wife and my daughter went to stay at her mother's house for the night. I stayed home alone, put on some late night TV, ended up falling asleep on the couch downstairs. Sometime around 2 a.m., my phone rang. It was Ethan's father. He sounded panicked. He told me Ethan was missing, said his bedroom was open, and which was unusual, and he wasn't anywhere in the house. They'd been looking for him and couldn't find him anywhere. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "We thought maybe he came over there," he said. "Our son said he saw your upstairs lights on and someone moving around." I froze. I hadn't been upstairs. I had been asleep on the couch the whole time. Slowly, I looked towards the staircase, and that's when I noticed it. The light upstairs was on. I hung up immediately, ran outside to my truck, and grabbed the first thing I could for protection. As I stepped back out, I saw police lights pulling up to Ethan's house. I didn't even think. I ran over to them and told them someone was inside my house. From outside, you could clearly see it. The light in my daughter's room was on, and there was a shadow moving inside, pacing back and forth. Officers went in. I stayed outside, heart pounding, just staring at the window. A few minutes later, they brought him out. It was Ethan. They found him in my daughter's room. He'd been hiding in the closet. He had set up blankets inside, like he was planning to stay there. When they questioned him about it, he admitted it. He said he liked to watch her sleep, that he would wait until it was late and just sit there in the dark.